All right, in case you missed it, this is Act 1, Scene 1, what happened. I'm not going to be acting it out for you, but I am going to be kind of talking through it. So, we meet Mr. Frank. Mr. Frank is really sad in Act 1. He is with Miep Geiss. She is pregnant. They used to work together. So, it is Amsterdam, November 1945. And he goes back to this annex, which is above the factory that he used to own. And it looks like it's just been kind of destroyed. And he is clearly sad about it, well worn, not feeling great. And he starts to cry and is just like, just burn it all. I don't care. And Miep is like, Mr. Frank, what about these papers? And what about these documents? What about these letters? He's like, nope, burn it all down. And she said, okay, well, what about this? And hands him the diary. And it's Anne's diary. And as Mr. Frank reads the diary, he is joined by Anne's voice, his daughter, and then we go back in time to 1942. So, back in time, Miep is not pregnant right now, because we're going back in time. And it starts with Anne reading from her diary and talking about what they could do, what the Nazis allowed the Jewish people to do, what they allowed them not to do. And Mr. Frank was pretty smart and pretty well ahead of his time, so he knew, hey, things aren't great. They used to live in Germany, and he said, I think we should move. So he moved his family to Holland to kind of avoid that. Problem is, then the Nazis came and invaded Amsterdam, and so they decide to go into hiding. The people that are in hiding with them, let's all meet them. So, first of all, you have the people that are not actually in hiding. You have Miep, and you have Mr. Crowler. They are helping Mr. Frank, who is their boss because he owns the factory. It's a pectin factory. If you've ever made jam, you've maybe worked with pectin. It's that thing that makes it gel up. So they are helping. They're pretty young, like 22, or I think she's 19 when she helps. She's pretty young. And they're helping, even though if they were caught, they would be sent off. They would probably die too. They would be sent to concentration camps as well. So the people in hiding. We have Mr. Frank, who's in charge because it's his hiding spot. We have his wife, Mrs. Frank. Mrs. Frank cares a lot about order. She's pretty proper. We have their daughter, Margot, who is 18, and she is beautiful and shy, kind of reserved. And then we have their daughter, Anne, who is 13, and she has a lot of opinions. Sometimes, like, when you're reading it, you might think at first, like, oh, she's kind of annoying. But she is just like a 13-year-old that speaks her mind. So Mr. Frank, because he's a nice dude, decides to let other people hide with him. And he lets Mr. Van Daan, Mrs. Van Daan, and their son Peter hide with them. And they are obviously very rich, well-to-do. And the reason that Mr. Van Daan was invited by Mr. Frank is because when Mr. Frank moved to this country from Germany, Mr. Van Daan helped him out. And so they just go over the rules. Mr. Frank says, okay, here are the rules. Because we are hiding above my factory, we have workers, and they will be able to hear us. So from 8 in the morning until 6 in the evening, we have to move only when it's necessary. We can't wear shoes. We just have to wear our stocking feet. We can't speak above a whisper. We have to burn all of our trash. And this is what I think would be really hard. They can't run any water. So if they wanted to drink water, they can't run the sink. Also, they can't use the bathroom. So from 8 in the morning to 6 at night, basically not really moving, not really talking, can't use the bathroom. So Anne is super excitable. She gets really excited about Peter's cat named Mushi. She's so excited because she had to leave her cat back at home. So she's so excited, and Mrs. Frank is like, Anne, you need to calm down. Stop being so over the top. Like, Peter doesn't even know you. And she's like, he'll get to know me. And she's really optimistic, and she says, it's kind of good. It might be kind of fun. Like, we're on a like vacation. And then a little bit later, Peter is angry about wearing his Star of David. And he's like, well, now we're in hiding, so I'm just going to cut it off. Anne's like, that's a good point, but I don't want to burn the Star of David. Mr. Frank gives Anne her diary in this Act 1, Scene 2, which is not actually historically accurate. He gives her diary for her birthday, so before they go into hiding. But plays are based on real life. They are not real life. Shocking, I know. And the real big thing that's hard for Anne is Anne realizes, oh, I'm not allowed to like leave this space until the war is over, until we don't have to be in hiding anymore. But her father says, and I wanted to quote it, there are no walls, there are no bolts, no locks that anyone can put on your mind. And the scene ends with Anne kind of writing in her diary and talking about what life in hiding is like, and talking about how every time they hear a sound, she's on edge and nervous about it. So that is a 6-ish minute summary of Act 1, Scenes 1 and 2. There will be more. Don't worry. These are optional. You do not have to watch them, but I will be making them.